Order, and I will just start off with roll call. Dr. Chawla,
Here.
Dr. Garcia,
Present.
and Dr. Pruitt.
Here.
Fantastic. And I just wanted to welcome Dr. Pruitt. He's the newest member of our PEC. Let's go ahead and go on with item number 2. It's public comment that are for items not on the agenda. Madam Moderator, if you could go ahead and open up for public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I've opened up the Q&A panel. If anyone would like to make a comment, please type, "I would like to make a comment," using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We will put up instructions for your reference, and you will have 2 minutes to speak with a 15-second warning. And we will give you a moment. All right, I see no request for public comment at this time. Madam Chair, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's closed.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and go on to item number 3, discussion and possible action for the minutes of March 26, 2021. Are there any comments from any members of the PEC regarding these minutes?
I move to accept the minutes as written for March 26, 2021.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Can I get a second?
Second.
Dr. Chawla, thank you. Do we need to open this up for public comment again? Could we have public comment for the minutes of March 26, 2021, Madam Moderator?
Thank you. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on this agenda item, please type, "I would like to make a comment," using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions. All right, this is a moderator. I see no request for comment. Madam Chair, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. Let's go ahead and have a vote. Dr. Garcia,
I vote aye.
Dr. Chawla, I think you're muted, Dr. Chawla.
Yeah, it's I'm actually having a I
Okay, and then Dr. Pruitt.
Abstain.
Okay, and Dr. Wong votes aye. So motion passes. And if we could go on to item number 4, discussion and possible action for the minutes of April 16th, 2021. Do any members of the PEC have comment for these minutes?
I move to accept the minutes of April 16, 2021 as written.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia.
second.
Thank you, Dr. Chawla. Madam Moderator, if you could open up the Q&A for comment for the minutes of April 16th, 2021.
Thank you. All right, the Q&A panel is available if any member of the public would like to comment on this agenda item. Please type, "I would like to make a comment," using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions, and we'll give you a moment. Madam Chair, I see no request for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's go ahead and have a vote. Dr. Garcia,
I vote aye.
Dr. Chawla, Dr. Chawla?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we just heard you there.
Okay.
Dr. Pruitt
And abstain.
and Dr. Wong votes aye. Motion passes. Let's go ahead and go on to item number 5. Discussion and possible action for accepting vaccination injection courses for continuing education credit. So at our April 16th meeting, Dr. McIntyre had asked for more, one of our previous PEC members had asked for more information regarding the immunization course. Currently, both Ketchum and Western are offering injection courses for optometrists. It's a 20-hour course. It looks like each course has 12 hours of self-study with an additional 8 hours of interactive study. So AB 443 created the immunization certification course. I guess the question right now is, are we going to accept the CE from the injection course as, I'm sorry, the education from the injection course as possible CE?
Hi,
Sh-
Dr. Wong. This is Natalia. And I just wanted to add to what you said that yes, the Ketchum and I believe you said or Western
Western.
both offer this, but when I was speaking with them, they specifically partner with the same people who do the exam for pharmacy. So the same exam that optometrists are doing are the same exact one that pharmacists are doing in order to get their injection courses.
Oh, I'm sorry. I believe both schools have a pharmacy school, or Ketchum does, which is why they're. Yes.
And additionally, I would like to point out that yes, that we're talking about seeing if we would need this for CE, but the injection is being considered as a certification, and for our other certifications such as glaucoma, TPA, or lacrimal, those courses that they need to take to get that certification are not applicable to their 50 hours of CE. So this would be, if we decide to do this outside of what was our normal standard, just thought I should bring that up.
Thank you, Natalia. So does anyone have any comments?
Dr. Garcia, actually a question. So for the 25-hour glaucoma course, are we saying that none of those hours apply to CE?
I didn't know
Correct.
that actually. I didn't know that the lacrimal and all of those, I think people are under the impression that they do apply. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I think glaucoma does, right?
I thought it did, you know,
I think too.
I thought it did too. So Natalia, this has
So
been an eye opener.
from my understanding, not necessarily, because the 25 hours of glaucoma would definitely apply for the 10 hours of the glaucoma that would be necessary, but I would have to double check to make sure that I think the 35 hours needs to be for specifically
is there a
ocular disease.
regulation that says it doesn't count? I don't remember any regulation saying that it does not count. So if you have one, please let us know, because I think that optometrists, not just the ones on this committee, but optometrists in general who take that
Right.
class.
So it would have to be that specifically the board and committee, like we do many other things, would have to accept them as CE. Like we do here. We approve them for CE, and I was not able to find any approval for them per our usual CE approval requirements.
I'm actually pretty sure we did. I've been on this committee for at least a decade, and I'm fairly certain that we've had this conversation, and we did. So a long time ago.
Madhu, you're dating yourself.
That's okay. I think that's necessary right now. So
But
I'm
yeah,
pretty
so
sure, yeah, a long time ago we did that, but lacrimal I'm less familiar with, but I think that you know, that's not 25 hours, so it's not as dramatic,
right.
but I thought that was also part of, because most of the time it was offered in conjunction with gonioscopy, or, you know, like a workshop and all of that. So I'm pretty sure, because I took one of those courses way back when, and I took it at Ketchum, and I'm fairly positive that it was, you know, listed as being, I mean, as going towards CE credit as well. So
Right.
I think that everybody's under that impression. So we should clarify if there's some regulation somewhere that says not. But if it's a matter of being approved in committee, I know that those classes have been submitted in the past, glaucoma for sure. And then I think the one from Ketchum was submitted individually, you know, as a CE, because it was done as a workshop in conjunction with gonioscopy and some other things and some lectures. So that was definitely there too. So.
Good morning, members. It's Shara Murphy, Executive Officer. I want to make sure that I'm following discussion and understand what we need to clarify. So we are saying that when a licensee first applies for a lacrimal certificate, that we have allowed the education needed for that certificate to double count within continuing education points required for their cycle of renewal.
Yes.
Yes.
The lacrimal one, the universities have submitted those courses. You know, for glaucoma, there was a discussion a long time ago about those classes.
Well, certainly. So but those certifications or those approvals were used in order to approve someone's certificate. I don't think
No,
that. Okay, I'm sorry.
glaucoma one was used in, the glaucoma one was like long, you know, kind of, that was a broader discussion. The lacrimal one was used to approve that class. That's what, you know, so the glaucoma certification, that discussion was a long time ago where we had discussed using those were applicable. And also, just as a point of clarification, and you said this already, Shara, is that when a licensee first applies, then other people can also take those classes for glaucoma certification if they wish, people who already have the certification. But for continuing education, because that's the other thing that the universities advertise, is that if you're already glaucoma certified, if you wanted to do a refresher, you know, for the didactic or anything, that it counts towards CE. But a long time
And
ago,
certainly
we had
because
discussed
particularly glaucoma,
Yeah.
certainly particularly because glaucoma does have a requirement for each annual renewal. I'm
Right.
not sure that we have had a submission of lacrimal continuing education from a provider who has already been certificated in
That
that.
probably you won't. Yeah, that probably you
Yeah.
won't get again and again. That's not as broadly used, I think, in optometry. So I think people get certified to be able to do it. I don't know that
I don't think there's individual
a
courses
reason.
after the
Yeah,
fact.
right. But I don't know there's any reason to do that again and again. Glaucoma is a little bit different. So
Right, just because it does have that reoccurring requirement. So I think that what I'm seeing and what I think Natalia and I spoke about before the meeting is that really that the injection courses are very much like the lacrimal. You get certified to do it, but we wouldn't allow you to double count. So you wouldn't be able to use those hours of education to both gain your certification and then to reduce the number of hours required, your 50 hours required in your renewal cycle. So I think that what we're looking at here is that it would be a new case of double counting credits that give you a certification, but that don't actually increase your specific knowledge to general eye care, vision health. So the double counting is what seems what's the word I'm looking for? All I can think is an anthem to the way that we would normally allow licensees to use education credits.
But I think that's what we've done in the past, with at least with glaucoma, because you would have the didactics or the classroom part, the courses for glaucoma, and which they needed for glaucoma certification. But I believe doctors also use those courses that they took in order to get glaucoma certified as part of their glaucoma CE for that particular period, license period.
So I think that what we could do, and it makes a lot of sense right now, we're actually going through our CE auditing procedures. Allow us to go through the records of CE audits and see if we're able to find instances of this. And then if we are able to find instances of this, then we can bring back that discussion and have that information available to you. And then if we're not, then let's look at the merits of if we're not able to find instances of that, then let's look at the merits of if this is something we want to start being able, we want to
begin
Accept.
doing.
precedent.
Okay.
So with regard to the vaccination, if this is going to be a part of delivery of care for optometry, this is a pretty arduous course. I took it, to be able to do COVID injections. And I was talking with Dr. Wong the other day about, this is probably more arduous than any other course I've taken, because it's in subject material that, you learned immunology a long time ago. Most providers learned it a long time ago, whether they're new or they've been practicing for a number of years. And it's pretty intense, to learn this. And so, the argument of like, is it increasing optometric care, not the standard as it currently stands, because we've not done immunization. But if we're saying that you need to do all of this in order to give an injection, and that's now part of optometry scope, then it is actually furthering education within the field of optometry with regard to what our scope of practice is. So it's not like necessarily eye care straight out. There might be references to eyes, vaguely in there, but it's not like directly related to eye care. But if injection is going to be part of our scope of practice, and if that's something that we're going to be able to do, then this certainly is relevant as part of enhancing our scope of practice. And it is a very arduous course, more so. It will take you the entire 20 hours, if not a little more. The tests are much more cumbersome. It's a 125 question test, 80 that you do before you go. It's like a pre-test and a post-test. I was mortified. Like there was, first I did the 80 question thing, and then there's like, oh, there's a post-test of 45 more. I'm like, you're kidding me. So I mean, that's just not something that we are used to doing for CE. But given the fact that it's very different from what we normally do, I think that it's relevant. And I learned a lot. It goes through the whole history of, all the vaccines, what immunization actually is. So it was actually really beneficial to do something like this and to be reminded of what it's all about, why you do it, the different types of vaccination. So I think that there is reason to consider giving continuing education for this, because it will take you the entire 20 hours. Like often we have that debate. This is at least 20 hours, if not more. The 8 hours is live, and that obviously takes 8 hours. But the other stuff that takes 12 can take you considerably longer to do. It's fairly dense material. So is anyone else taking this class?
No, we've had a couple of faculty members at Berkeley take it, and they also took the one at Ketchum. So, but I think the majority of the CE would fall under general optometry, right? It wouldn't fall under therapeutics or ocular disease.
No, it'll be just general, but it should be counted for something.
And then too, I'm going to, I'm sure, be hated for this this idea, but because this is something that is so arduous, that does come with so much new education, is there a need to consider whether or not there needs to be some sort of requirement with your renewal? And maybe it's not every 2 years, but do we need folks to stay fresh in this content?
I don't think so. I mean, this is like just standard information about vaccines. And it's arduous because it's not something that we do. LVNs, RNs, I mean, people that have high school certificates can give injections. I don't know that we need to make it anyway. They don't have to redo anything. Nurses, physicians, everybody is doing this. PAs, pharmacists, nobody else has to do it. So I don't know that I would.
I think Dr. Tall is saying that it's arduous just because it's a different topic matter than
the injection itself is like, that's the easiest thing you do. So you practice on oranges, then you bring in my case, your husband, and say Robert took 2 injections for the team here. So basically, and that was.
Tell him thank you for helping with the COVID response.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, I actually used it, so that was actually kind of a nice thing to be able to use it right away. So. None of the other doctors on the call have done it? Drs. Pruitt or Garcia?
Yeah. Dr. Garcia, I have not, but I intend to. But I agree with all of you. I think we should work towards providing CE for this course. I think it's important. As a board, we're charged with providing public health and safety. And I think of all the things we do, this is really going to have a great impact on the future of public safety and health for Californians. If we have more providers that can provide immunizations, more optometrists, that'd be great. So I think we should encourage members to take the course. And I think by providing CE, that's going to encourage people to take it. If you don't give CE, you might find fewer people jumping in to take the class.
Dr. Pruitt, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I took the course. I actually took the course the first time Western offered it, which I believe was in 2019. Um, and yeah, I just agree with everything that everyone has said. And I even believe on the certificate that you received, since it's modeled after the Association of Pharmacists course, that certification or this course is only needed once, but it kind of has a tagline that it comes with the standard expectation that you remain current on any of the changes and protocols with immunizations. And so
Yeah.
I don't think it would need to be a refresher course or become kind of a cycle that you would need to try to do every 1 to 2 years. But I did have a question. And so like the lacrimal, just from my understanding, so if an individual took the lacrimal course, but didn't follow through and complete the certification, would they then be able to use those courses for continuing education?
So
I-
this is Natalia. If that is the case that we have been double counting, yes, they are also able to apply for the certification later on. So let's say they did the courses back in 2003. They can still apply for that now because they did complete that. So yes.
Okay, so I
Or,
think
or if they did some of the coursework, but they didn't finish all of it, since it's still courses, I'm assuming that they could still use those courses for CE. They just
And
aren't
the
certified
the
for
course is pretty short for lacrimal. It's like all in like a half
in a
day
day.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah, you finish the coursework there, so but I see what they mean. Like if they didn't follow through by sending in their check and, application and all that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's just how my minds work. I'm just trying to think that if they've taken the course, but then don't do the certification, and that then allows them to use those courses for their continuing education credits, I don't think the mere act of just following or what they do with that education or with that information should negate the merit of that continuing education. So I'm just thinking that they should be able to use like the immunization, use that for continuing education, and it shouldn't be invalidated just because they move forward with that information and pursue a certification.
So I guess the one thing with the injection course is that there's a mandatory 70% pass rate for the self-study. So if the person or if the licensee doesn't follow through with the injection course and get the certification, and they're using the coursework for CE, they would then have to submit some kind of proof that they at least pass by 70% the self-study.
They give you a certificate and it's on the APHA's website.
Right. So I guess my thing is if they don't finish it with a course, let's say they are not comfortable doing the
Right.
live part and they still want the continuing education credit for the self-study, it's still continuing education. They would just have to submit something saying that they
Yeah.
actually
You
got
get
70%.
you get a certificate.
Or that have to.
Yeah, after you do it, you get a certificate that says that you finished.
Right.
I have a question. So I'm kind of hung up on this double dipping concept. So is that somewhere in regulation that we can't double dip? I think if you take a course that is worthy of CE, you should get the CE whether or not it's a certification course or not. It just makes sense to me. But this whole double dipping is new to me. This whole concept.
I didn't, so I will say I didn't realize it was double dipping. I assumed, especially with the glaucoma course, that
Right.
that was CE credit. I mean, I guess we could always ask, or we could double check before our next meeting.
yes, certainly. We'll make an effort to go through our records of CE audits and see how we've approached this in the past, and be able to give you some sort of context as to what we've done. My other thought, which is going back to where I was before, but if we don't mandate it, but let's say you do choose, Dr. Pruitt, to keep up on this. You do end up taking a course on immunizations that's offered. We currently don't have the authority, I believe, to allow you to use that for CE. So I think another consideration we need to make is whether or not courses moving forward from your certification, if those can be used for general optometry or if they go into another CE category, that could be recognized as part of your 50 hours for each renewal?
I don't know that we would actually take something else, because basically it's just telling you about all immunizations that currently exist, and then you take the ones, the CDC ones. The CDC ones don't count toward, I guess they're part of it, but they don't individually count for COVID. You know, you're taking them very specific to COVID. So the only reason that you would continue your education on immunizations is if for some reason a new type of injection came up that you would have to learn, you know, like you do it intramuscularly versus subcutaneously, or whatever, or the storage, you know, like the COVID vaccines, the storage was the thing that was kind of different about them. But that's the only new thing that's going to happen, because they literally cover every immunization that's currently available up through and including COVID. So I don't know that you would take something new unless optometry got, you know, we aren't going to have like a broad thing for immunizations, you know, so it's very specific for us and targeted. So I don't know that there would be something else that you would take. Do you, Dr. Pruitt? Do you see anything different that, like, what else would you take to keep yourself current? You do the immunizations or you don't. I don't re-envision people doing another practical because nobody else does it. So do you think there's a didactic component that we would keep taking?
No, I think it's just like what you said. When the vaccines came out, and first with Pfizer and then Moderna, we would had to just go to the CDC's website and take their webinars and do that information before being able to allow to do the vaccinations. But I'm kind of wondering though, that I'm wondering if those modules, I think they did actually offer CME and nursing continuing
They
education
do.
credit.
They did. Optometry didn't. I think they kind of like bundled it. Like when I just did it recently. So they sort of just like bundled it and said, you also have to do this. They didn't give us anything extra. Like for optometry, it wasn't anything extra the way that they did it this time. Because I think a lot of people had not taken it before. So they just basically said the APHA course is 20 hours and you have to do this, but there was no additional. But you're right. There was like a half or a 1 hour credit for nursing and for physicians. You're right about that. So that's what I mean, is that like if something new came out, then you would consider. So if you wanted to put a regulation in or something that talked about if a new type of vaccine comes out that has not been administered before, that would be the only time I could conceive that you would need to keep your education current, so to speak. You know, or if we were authorized somehow to administer other vaccines to review, you know, things like that, or something that's more specific to pediatrics, or those would be the only reasons that you would want to change, even though it was all covered before, you know. So
Do we need to add anything to say that we would accept those courses as part of under CE for general optometry, or would it just roll into general optometry?
So I think we would want to look at, because there are CME credits being provided, I think that we would look at whether or not it will fall into that and allow us the authority to accept those credits, or if we would need to adopt a separate regulation in order to allow that. So we'd have to do a little background to see kind of, how it's being fit into CME, and then how it might then be acceptable within our regulations.
Okay.
So I would also ask, if you're going to do the research on what's been done before, I would look to see if there's anything in the regulation that talks about the double dipping that you're referencing, that we cannot do that. Because I think that in past discussions, we didn't see anything, you know, that was like that. Now, this is going back like 10 years. So, you know, things could have changed in the wording that I'm not remembering right now. But at the time, there was no issue with that. So if you could research that too, because I agree with what the other doctors are saying. And I think I've said it already, that you're taking the class, you know, you're doing the work. I don't know why you wouldn't get credit for doing it just because you're applying for a certification. So if you could research that in the regulations too, that would be great.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, if you're looking for examples, that CDC module, I was just thinking that's a perfect example where physicians, nurses, MAs alike had to take it in order to be able to administer the COVID vaccine. But in that attaining that certification, they got the half-hour CME and CNE continuing education credit for doing it.
Okay. All right. So Shara, if you and staff could look into it more, then we can bring it up at the, I guess, the next PEC meeting, or do we want to talk about it at the August meeting?
I think we'll bring it to the next PEC meeting, just to give us an opportunity to interface with the CME providers and understand that, and then also to do the reg review. And I think, Dr. Garcia and I were talking recently, that really that this is such the committees are such a think tank, right? So how all of you have sort of approached this issue in different ways. I think that it will be really important to bring that information back and have you do that same. It's just a little bit different than we usually have in board meetings. So I think that dialogue will be really beneficial. So we'll bring this back to you for the next PEC meeting.
Yeah,
That sounds great.
that's kind of like the better way, because you just kind of roll it and then you present it at the board meeting, and here's the package.
Yeah.
Here's the finished product, rather than, because you'll spend hours doing it.
Having one discussion on one topic. Yes.
Yeah, it'll be 5 o'clock by the time you're, so.
Okay. Let's go ahead and open up Q&A, I guess, for public. Oh, I'm sorry. Does anybody else have any other comments on the committee about this? No. Okay, let's go ahead, Madam Moderator, if you could open it up for public comment. Do we need to have public comment for this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel, and if any member of the public would like to comment on this agenda item, please type. I would like to make a comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We will give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no request for public comment at this time. Would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's closed.
So we will continue this discussion at the next PEC meeting, and let's go ahead and move on to item number 6, continuing education course approval for resubmitted applications. Does anyone have any comments regarding the items? It looks like it's by Dr. Keith Leong's office, and there's quite a number of courses that he's requesting approval for. No comments? Dr. Garcia, do you have any comments? Dr. Chawla or Dr. Pruitt?
Yes, Dr. Garcia, no comments specifically. So this is for a resubmitted application, correct? It's just a one-of-one.
It's a resubmitted application, but he actually has, looking at the material submitted, there's 2 courses that are individual that he's asking for approval for. But then there's also a whole nother section. It's a list of, hold on.
Yeah, it's in another section, I believe.
There's 10 other courses that he's talking about how he's going to, that he either has given the course or that he will in the future. And the majority of the courses have a very, very short, like 2-sentence outline. So the first 2 courses he submitted PowerPoints for. So they were treatment for macular degeneration, and then so that one there's actually a PowerPoint for, and I thought that course looked fine. But then there's another list, and it says CE request for 2021, and there's topics submitted, and there's 10 of them, and then he has possible date of events, and they start anywhere from February 2021 until December 2021. So all the ones that have already occurred, he has not submitted anything.
So, Dr. Natalia, so this is specifically for the one you've already talked about, the treatments for macular degeneration.
Oh, okay.
Oftentimes when we get these is that they'll submit all their courses at once, and we will separate them out into individual, like there'll be individual course approvals, but because it's easier for them, they'll have like the list of like their courses that are going to be listed there. So this is specifically for the treatments of macular degeneration. He did list other things in there, but that is not applicable to this.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So we're only talking about treatments for macular degeneration.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I move to approve.
Second.
If Madam Moderator, if we could open it up for public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, the Q&A is now available. If any member of the public would like to make a comment, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We will give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no requests for public comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Let's go ahead and take a
Okay.
vote. Dr. Garcia,
I vote aye.
Dr. Chawla,
Aye.
Dr. Pruitt,
I only received these not too long ago, so I'm going to abstain.
okay, and then Dr. Wong votes aye. Motion passes. So let's go on to 7A. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's go on to item number 7, continuing education approval for our Kaiser applications. Does anyone have any comments about the Kaiser applications?
This is Dr. Garcia. They look good to me. I would vote aye.
Can I get a motion?
I'm sorry. I move to accept Kaiser applications and agenda item number 8.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the Kaiser,
Seven.
there are 7A1 and 7A2.
Yeah, restate. So I move to accept application 7A1 and 2.
Could I get a second?
Second.
Madam Moderator, if you could open up Q&A for public comment.
Thank you. All right, the Q&A is now available. If any member of the public would like to make a comment, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We will give you a moment. This is the moderator. I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's closed.
And let's go ahead and take a vote. Dr. Garcia,
I vote aye.
Dr. Chawla,
Aye.
Dr. Pruitt,
Abstain.
Dr. Wong votes aye. Motion passes. Let's go ahead to item number 8 on the agenda. So there were a number of courses. We have items 8A through 8T as in Tom. Does anyone have any comments about any of the courses, A through T?
This is Dr. Garcia. I reviewed them all. I didn't see anything that I wanted to bring up.
Dr. Pruitt or Dr. Chawla?
I don't remember finding anything. I was looking for my notes, but I don't remember finding anything here.
Right, so I just have 2 comments. So item 8C is in Charlie, pre-op management of LASIK. They applied for ocular disease, but the majority of their talk, if not all of it, was talking about the different IOLs. And I didn't really see how it was an ocular disease talk. But if you guys if you disagree with me.
I mean, that's fine. Either you want to do it under general
Yeah.
optometry?
Yes, I wanted to change
That's fine.
8C to general and not ocular disease. And then the only other one that I had an issue with was 8T as in Tom. It says, let's take a break and work on your practice. So this one talked more about patient management and how to just improve your practice. And it does come under general. So in the past, because originally they had applied for practice management, but there is no practice management continuing education category. So it does come under general. It has a little bit more to do with the business side of optometry, but it did talk a little bit about patient recall. So I just wanted to make sure that we're okay accepting it under general.
I think that's okay. I mean, some of that stuff in the past, like some of the practice management stuff has been under general. It was all
Okay.
right.
Okay.
I agree.
I think part of that is to allow a little bit of that if you
Yeah,
need
I
it.
agree.
It's just fine. Yeah.
Okay. So if Nobody else has any other comments. Can I get a motion for items under agenda item 8?
I move to approve items A through T under section 8.
I second, and that would be with the course C
change in-
becoming general.
Yeah.
So I would amend it to be include. I would amend it to include that and vote aye. Second the motion.
Wait,
So
we're
you
gonna-
have to,
We're going to open for public
so either
comment first.
either I have to redo it or he has to propose it. So you're doing a friendly amendment to my motion, which is fine. I accept your friendly amendment to
So-
change item C to general.
Right. So Dr.
That's
Garcia makes the motion and Dr. Chawla seconds it.
No, I made the motion. And
Okay.
he
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have the friendly amendment.
Yeah.
Okay. So accepting everything between 8A and 8T as is, except for with the adjustment with item 8C, changing it from ocular disease to general for its category.
Yep.
Thank you. Madam Moderator, if you could open up the Q&A for public comment.
All right. If any member of the public would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We will give you a moment. Assistant Moderator, I see no request for comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take a vote. Dr. Garcia,
I vote aye.
Dr. Chawla.
Aye.
Oh, I think you're muted again, Dr. Chawla.
Aye.
Perfect. And Dr. Pruitt?
Abstain.
And Dr. Wong votes aye. Motion passes. Let's go on to item number 9, possible and discussion and possible action for the CE courses on the complete applications. So we have items 9A through 9M as in Mary. Does anyone have any comments about those courses?
Yeah, after reviewing, I did not have any comments on those.
Dr. Chawla, do you have any comments?
No, they looked okay.
Right, so I just have one comment. It was item number J4, managing the unhappy premium patient. They applied for ocular disease, and it really it talked more about distortion and aberration secondary to the IOLs and how to manage that and how to both pre and post-op. And it didn't really have very much to do with any kind of ocular disease. So I'm proposing that we change item J4 from ocular disease 1 hour to 1 hour of general optometry.
Dr. Garcia, I'm okay with that. So I would move to accept all CE in items 9A through M with the modification of J4 to become general.
Could I get a second?
Yeah.
I think that was Dr. Chawla. Did you just second that?
I did.
Fantastic. Madam Moderator, if you could open up the Q&A for public comment, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, the question and answer panel is available. If any member of the public would like to comment on this agenda item, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We will give you a moment. This is the moderator. I see no request for public comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and have a vote. Dr. Garcia,
I vote aye.
Dr. Chawla,
Aye.
Dr. Pruitt,
Abstain.
Dr. Wong votes aye. Motion passes. Did we want to look at anything in item 10? It's the incomplete applications. but it looks like the incomplete applications are incomplete only because of they submitted the incorrect fees. Natalia, is that correct?
I believe so for in this case. Let me double check for you one moment.
So I just wanted to make one comment. There is only one PowerPoint that's submitted. So I don't know if this is like the earlier item in the agenda where they submitted their whole outline, but were only approving. The intent was to only approve one course, or if the intent was they wanted to have us approve all 6 of their courses. Because if they want us to approve all 6 of their courses, they have to provide either more detailed outlines or the PowerPoints.
And you're absolutely correct, Dr. Wong. I'm looking at the notes and it says needs separate applications for each course. So we can approve this one. We're waiting for the applicant to give us separate applications for each course.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess we'll just hold off. I mean, we could always tentatively approve the treatment refraction of macular degeneration because that's the only PowerPoint that's included. And they did submit fee for one course, but the other 5 courses, I think we just need to wait on, or we could just wait for everything.
I think to make things easier down the line for both Christina and for the applicant, we should do them all at once.
Fantastic. Okay. Do we need to open up item number 10 for public comment? Or let's go ahead and open up Q&A for public comment for item number 10.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Q&A is now available. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item number 10, please type "I would like to make a comment" using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We will give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no requests at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's closed.
Thank you. So I guess that puts us on to item number 11, future agenda items. Is there any topics or items that members of the PEC want to bring up for future PEC meetings?
Yes, Dr. Garcia, I have one potential item to suggest to the board or to this committee. So I would suggest looking at the regulatory changes with respect to our Optometry Practice Act, specifically items, the Board and Professions BPC 3078 and 3098. So what they are, I mean, most of us have been in practice for a long time, and these rules have been in place since I started optometry in '96 and probably beyond. But a lot of them relate to how we market our practice by name. So, back in the old day, it was just yellow pages at best, and even then, it was kind of taboo to advertise. But things have changed significantly in our profession and in our world. So now that we're faced with social media marketing, some of these rules I think are a little archaic and very limiting. So, for example, I'll use myself as an example. Full disclosure, I was actually cited for some of these violations. But on Facebook, if you are not able to if you're not able to register your practice name as it is on Facebook, you have to change it a little bit. So I'll use myself as an example. Family Eye Care Optometry is our practice name. It was not available on Facebook or as a website. So on Facebook, we put Lemoore Family Eye Care Optometry, which is a violation because it is not the same as our fictitious name. So, I was just looking at that, and I had some conversations with Shara on how maybe we could look at this a little more closely, given the way our environment has changed, and specifically to social media, and we have to have unique practice names that a lot of times it's impossible to do that. So I spoke to Shara, and she suggested looking at a regulatory change and having staff maybe looking into that a little more closely to see if it's time to make some adjustments on that. So just kind of putting it out there for discussion, see if any of the other doctors on the panel have any comments, and then we'll go from there.
Dr. Chawla, Dr. Pruitt, do you guys have any comments?
Well, I think what we would do is we'd put it on the agenda.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah. So do we want to put it on the agenda for the next PEC? Does this go to Ledge Reg? Or do we put this on the agenda for the August board meeting? Shara, what do you?
Yeah,
I
I
would put
think
it on
Dr.
some- I'd put it on some committees first, whichever ones you want, and then.
Yeah, I think that the Practice and Education Committee is a great place to start this discussion. So I'd mentioned to Dr. Garcia is probably allowing staff to take a look at these, and board members as well. Let's all included this in the packet. Take a look at 3078 and 3098, and kind of formulate some thoughts about how this interacts with current practice, how folks go about expanding their practices, and how the current statutes might remove possibilities or hamper the ability for practitioners to open additional practices and to increase vision care services in their area. And then I think we take a look at what we could possibly clarify within regulation given our current statutory authority, and then what we couldn't clarify because statutory authority doesn't allow that. And so then I think we would end up taking two prongs, right? So sort of taking a look at what is it that we can do possibly for a regulatory package that clarifies what we have now, and then what can we on a different path take to the legislature and ask for new authority in order to then have clarifying regulations developed by our board that are up to modernized.
Okay.
I see a couple of discussions in PEC, and then possibly presentation of a package, of a regulatory package to the board, and possibly presentation of a legislative package, statutory change to the board as well.
That sounds great. Thank you, Shara. All right, so let's have PEC look at it. Any other items that we want to put on for as future agenda items? So I have one, and I don't know if we want to put it for the PEC. At the most recent ARBO meeting that Dr. Kawaguchi and I attended virtually, OE Tracker made a presentation about how just the way that they can track CE, and how there are a number of states that are currently using OE Tracker, and they're able to actually verify CE compliance when on relicensure for each of their doctors at 100%. I know that we've been called out a couple of times because we only are able to audit around 3% of our docs. And I know that we've talked about using OE Tracker in the past, and we had talked about maybe perhaps using Breeze, which I don't think is happening anytime in the future to certify CE. So maybe we could have someone from OE Tracker or ARBO come and talk to the board in the future about their process. What do you guys think? Oh, I guess this would just be a future agenda item. Would we want ARBO to come to the PEC, or just comes to the full board to have a discussion?
Yeah,
I was going to just say, I think you should have them come here. I think that you should look at that was like 2016-ish, 2015,
Yeah.
2016-ish, that they made some presentations, and you could look at what the thoughts were at the time.
Mhm.
I think that at the time the board was less familiar with stuff from
Mhm.
OE Tracker. I've been on that committee for ARBO, and I think that there was less familiarity, especially from some of the public members. Then there was discussion. Breeze was new, and so people said, well, why not in-house? And as you mentioned, it's pretty obvious that Breeze is not going to be doing that anytime soon. So I think it's a good idea to bring it here and then send a package for consideration again to the board.
Okay.
Because this is where you approve CE, and I think that anything that they could do to make it more compliant, where people are actually being looked at, this is a consumer protection board, and that's falls smack in the middle of consumer protection, is that people are educated and keeping themselves current. So I think have them present here. And are we ever doing a committee meeting before a board meeting again? Because that actually, if you wanted to do both, like if you wanted that same presentation to go to the full board, or if you wanted to just come here first and then, the following month or whatever, go to the full board.
That is certainly something we could schedule for our spring meetings. Right now, I'm not sure that we would, with the other, the course load and the other substantive discussions we're talking about, I'm not sure we'd be able to schedule it for the meetings that occur before October, right? Or we?
That's okay. I mean, that's fine. It was just a thought. It's fine to bring it here first and then, subsequently. That might be fine just to do it here and then go a few months later to the board. So,
Okay, great. Yes, we would look at bringing that presentation in likely in our first meeting of 2022, our spring meeting, which is really just January, February timeframe, I do believe, in order to bring it to PEC first.
yeah, look at, and then I think it was like November 2016, I want to say. And the only reason I remember is because I just had a baby.
So it's stuck in your mind. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Well,
2015. It was like somewhere in that range of like pregnancy, having a baby. So
Yeah,
that's
we had a pretty significant discussion about it, and there was the hope that at that time that we would be able to use Breeze to monitor or compliance of CE with all licensees. But it's been a couple of years, so if we can't get it done through Breeze, it might be nice to reconsider OE Tracker, and I think they've made some changes also in their system.
we'll have staff go back and see if we can retrieve the minutes from that meeting in order to understand what the concerns were or why we led down that path, to also inform sort of, okay, what's different now. So we'll go back through archives and find the minutes for that November 2016-ish meeting in order to have folks have some context for the decision that was made previously.
I think one of the things was cost. So for the individual licensees, OE Tracker is free. For the boards, if we wanted to use them as a way to monitor compliance, I believe there's a cost. So there would be an additional cost if we were to use OE Tracker.
Okay, we'll be sure. I'm sure that the folks from Arbo will let us know about those sorts of fees and that sort of thing when they give us a presentation. But we'll also kind of take a look at, is the fee structure any different than it was before?
Okay.
Thank you, members.
All right. Does anyone have any other suggestions for future agenda items?
None.
Okay. Well, then let's go ahead. Oh, do I need to open that up for future comment? Let's open up.
As we
Okay.
took, no, it was since we took comment for items not on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, there isn't a need to open the public comment here.
Okay, thank you. Well, then let's move on to item number 12, which is adjournment. Thank you, everybody, before we adjourn, I just wanted to welcome again Dr. Pruitt for being our newest PEC member. And I also wanted to thank Dr. Garcia. He has agreed to be the new chair of the PEC meeting, the PEC committee.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. Welcome, Dr. Pruitt. Dr. Pruitt, I would encourage you to reach out to the senior members of this committee. Dr. Wong, in particular, was helpful in onboarding me. And I when we're on a new committee, it's nice to kind of get some history from the veterans and find out what our mission is and how we can best participate. So I would encourage that. Thank you, Dr. Wong, for doing that for me.
Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to item number 12, adjournment. Thank you, everyone, for participating. And I will no longer be part of the PEC, so I'm leaving it in all of your capable hands. And thank you for your thank you for everything.
Thank you, Dr. Wong.
Thank you, members. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.